All right, well, it's Saturday night, and I recently put up a video, and I've been browsing through the comment section of that video, and there seems to be a lot of different, well, there's a huge division. It's diametrical opposition where there are two sides, two distinct sides, and both sides think that they're right, think that they're justified. Both sides, it's been presented to me that both sides feel that they are doing or pursuing a course that is best for the country. And that is almost impossible to believe by either opposition to the side that would make that statement. So it's a pretty hot topic. And that video was the one in which I spoke about people that are prophesizing that there's going to be a civil war, or that maybe I have more of the attitude right now that I think we're in like a soft civil war right now anyway, politically. Different kind of civil war than what you might expect, but I think we are involved in a civil war. But I have a lot more to say on the topic, and I had a whole other video, totally different aspects of it to speak on. But instead, because I just browsed through some of those comments, I want to make this video right now, because it may be very unclear, or maybe not so unclear. People, you know what I appreciate? I appreciate, brothers and sisters, that you afford me the benefit of the doubt, that you've been around long enough and seen enough of me, that you afford me the benefit of the doubt, man. And I respect that, and I'm grateful and appreciate that. That even people that disagree or share an opinion or belief that I may not understand, and I may flat out disagree with the mechanics of it, that I would hope it never gets to a point where we can't talk about it, because there may be, I'm certain there are at least some aspects of anything that's out there that seems to be in opposition to what I would profess or push forward. I'm certain that there are aspects somewhere within that which I am unaware of, that I'm ignorant of and haven't thought of. And I think that's why, or I know that that's why communication, we have these 3-pound brains, man. Communication is really, really critical. And I appreciate anybody that would disagree with me at face value. I appreciate them affording me the opportunity that they can either attempt to educate me or peacefully and reasonably and intelligibly and intelligently try to get me to see their perspective. I totally appreciate that, man. I have an open mind. We all fall short. We all can improve. We all can continually learn, I would hope, right? But here's the thing. I understand that, I don't even want to say right and left and this and that, because is it really that clear cut? Because, like for instance, me, like Chris Rock once said in a comedy skit, everybody's not completely conservative and everybody's not completely liberal. There are certain things you can find things that ask me about that I'm liberal on. You can find things that ask me about that I'm very conservative on. But with this division amongst us, I'm on the conservative side of the majority of that, of right now. See, I believe in an emergency situation, you're talking about triage, and you have to stop the bleed. You got to stop the bleed. And when you're burning down resources that the most infirm amongst us, in some of these poorest neighborhoods even, they rely on those resources, man. And this side of the story isn't reported by the media. You know why? Because it's not juicy, it's not provocative, and these people are their story is completely left untold. But they're out there, they exist. I have heard their voices. I know for a fact that there are people that are suffering because of these riots, because of these fires, that are not the enemy of the people that are doing this, but they are in disagreement and they don't want to hear what these people have to say now because they are suffering because of the way they're putting it forward. You understand? So stop the bleed. So now it's to the degree that, yeah, I can't hear what you're protesting about. I can't hear what your complaint is now. I can't hear it because you have drowned it out with violence inflicted upon, in many cases, your own communities. Either, well, it's directly, but either at your hands or at the hands of people coming in from out of town and doing it, but either way, it's gone unaddressed by you. These are your tactics. You've initiated these tactics. Press forward with whatever it is your message it was. I've almost forgotten what the hell your message is because that shit, stop the bleed. That has to stop. That's what I'm against. I'm not down for talking about what your complaints are right now. Sure, I'm all for it. You can open my mind and explain things to me here on this page, right? The page and comment section of a video. But the actual actors, perpetrators that are starting fires, burning down the local pharmacy, burning down the local supermarket, burning down these resources and infrastructure that people who can't drive, people who are elderly, people who are infirm, the average American, once they get over 50 years old, they're on at least 1 or 2 medications minimum. Minimum. In this country, the way they push drugs, the way they push pharmaceuticals, those people, you got people taking blood pressure medication, you got people taking blood thinners, you got people taking insulin for diabetes, you got people taking drugs for their cholesterol level. You got just on and on and on and on and on. It's all kind of crap. It's all kind of crap. And these elderly folks, some of these infirm people, man, they don't have money, they don't have resources. The resources they have are those that they can get to within the neighborhood. They're just trying to live out their lives. They're not part of this, man. They're not in disagreement with you. They're not your enemy, but yet they're casualties at your hands. Now, why you can't see that, I don't know. And that you don't see that and don't address that and haven't controlled your group, haven't exercised enough control and discipline that it's organized to the extent that you haven't harmed these people and their infrastructure and their resources, I don't respect that. That makes you the bad guy. Sorry. Doesn't matter why you did this to these people. It's that you did this to these people. And that has to be stopped. That needs to stop. Do you understand? Does that make sense? Do you see my perspective at all? See, here's the deal. I don't care what your argument or complaint is because we're not having an open communication and discussion. I'm a fellow American, all right? I don't necessarily have any more power than what you have. But you're choosing to exercise a perverted aspect of power. And that is the power just to release the reins of control, of morality, and burn, and loot, and pillage, and just destroy. And so, yeah, your message gets lost in the face of that. Of course it does, because it's triage, and you got to stop the bleed. And if a mob of people, an angry mob, or even a peaceful, happy, cheerful crowd of folks come to my house and attempt to burn it down, or they're throwing things through my front windows and busting my house up and tearing it up and every other thing, or I'm just walking down the street minding my own business in broad daylight and somebody decides to run up behind me and bash me in the head with a brick or attempt to, I have a little bit more situational awareness than that, especially in these times. I'm not going to be in that city walking down the street to begin with now. Absolutely not. And if I am, I'll be prepared for something like that to happen, and it won't be a brick I'll have with me. Or if I'm driving down the road minding my own business and inadvertently turn into a mob of chaotic nonsense and violence and destruction, and they decide to start breaking my windows out, or they won't let me get away or leave or turn around or go the other way, and they are attacking me, if I feel threatened like any of those things, I don't want to hear why they're doing it. I don't have time for that. I am defending my life, my liberty, right then and there. And it doesn't look like what you've seen responding to these people in most of the places that they're enacting these behaviors. It won't look like that. It won't look like that. I can freaking promise you it won't look like that. But then, the same token, I'm not going to put myself in these positions. I'm not going to go down there and protest against you. I'm not going to do, I don't care if you tear statues down. I think it's nonsense. I don't want it to happen. But we have elected governors and we have elected mayors and we have elected presidents and we have elected officials to represent us, and that's their job. They have the police department at their disposal. That's their job. I'm not going to leave my home and leave what I love and people I love to go look for trouble. However, if trouble comes to me, that's different. And I won't care why. Do you understand? Does that make sense? I won't care why. What do I know why about in that situation? What do I know about why? There's no sense of any of it. There's no sense of any of it. Injury, loss of life, and then there's no sense to the why anyway. It just is. That's all. It just is. Because I would be defending my life. And that's all I need to know. That's all I need to know. Because whatever your complaint is, you're not going to take my life because of that. As far as I'm concerned, you have no reason, no right, no way to explain or excuse behavior that endangers my life or liberty because of anything you're protesting, because I haven't done shit to you personally. But you're personally trying to burn my house down, these individuals. You're personally trying to bust me in the head with a brick. Okay? Then it's personal. It's not a systemic issue now. It's not the system, step in at that moment or I'm going to rely on. It's me, and I'm going to do something right then and there. And like I said, the same token, I'm not going out looking for it. And I'm going to tell you right now that all this mess out there, once the military steps in, if it goes to that, Insurrection Act, martial law, whatever, if it goes to that, and for you people to think that the President of the United States, that he wants to try and delay an election, or he wants to try and do this, or he's not going to leave the White House, or if that man wanted to stop the election, all he's got to do is declare martial law. You understand he has the power to do that now. You already given him that. And he doesn't want to do that. Obviously. I don't know him personally. I haven't asked him, hey, do you want to do that? But he hasn't done it, and he could have already. There's been enough cities in turmoil, he could have already done it. It's not what he wants to do. Ever think to yourself, why not? But you folks are not trained. You folks are not experienced and trained combatants. You're not. You may have a smattering of a couple people here or there, but overall, you're not. But now it's at a whole different level. Now you have this Antifa, which Black Lives Matter, to have any affiliation with these folks, both organizations are, I don't believe that the organization of Black Lives Matter represents a caring for black lives. Why would I say that? Because look at how many black people have already lost their lives in the middle of all this nonsense. Look at how many black people are being killed by black people. If you don't care about that, look at how many children are being killed or have died already in the midst of this in these cities. Look at this mess. Children, man. Children are our most valuable resource, and they are the only ones amongst us that are truly innocent, and you truly do not know. And there's no way to really pigeonhole, the exact potential of any individual child. And you don't know who any of those children may have grown up to be. And we may have needed their voices. We may have needed their reason. We may have needed their brain power. You don't know who we've lost. But I don't hear you chanting, say their names about those kids But I do hear you chanting names about people that had rap sheets and were criminals and every other freaking thing. Now, did they deserve to lose their lives? I'm not saying that means you deserve to lose your life. You don't deserve to lose your life just because you have a past, a bad past. But you're trying to deify felons. You know what I mean? Yeah, okay, George Floyd. Those officers at face value, seeing the video, yeah, they should have been arrested and charged, and so they were. So they were. And when there's a suspicion of homicide, you know, and someone died, the victim, and you have in this case, video evidence and eyewitnesses, and we see what happened, yeah, they're going to have their day in court. And that's what should happen to anybody in that situation, and that's what did happen. All right? But let's not try and make this guy paint pictures of him with a halo over his head. Okay? Doesn't make any difference to what happens to anybody found guilty of murdering this man. Anybody that murdered this individual, it doesn't matter if that guy was the holiest man walking the earth currently, or if he were Satan incarnate. Doesn't matter to the person that took this life. You understand? That person should still face the music. And they shall. They shall. But in this case, you want to paint pictures and paintings with the guy with a halo over his head. This is a guy that a pregnant woman and held a pistol to her stomach while his partners ransacked the home searching for whatever they were looking for, and more. And more. You understand? Look, don't hate me just for repeating facts and truth. You understand how it's hard to go that extra mile and say his name. The perpetrators are arrested and been charged. Okay, why don't you wait and see what the outcome is? And like I said, if you really cared about Black lives, you would care about all the children that lost their lives, truly innocent. Don't hear anything about that. I don't hear anybody complaining and rioting, protesting maybe even peacefully about various legislative fucking enactments that have pigeonholed people of color into these shithole urban cities where they literally are caught in a crossfire, and where good and decent people have to be always on the alert to duck bullets, and where the sound of gunfire is a normal thing to hear because people are trying to shoot each other. I don't see you protesting that. And I'm not one of these people going to sit here and say Black people are more violent, Black people are doing all the killing and all the murdering. If mostly Black people live in this highly concentrated area and there's a lot of crime there, then yes, Black people are going to commit those crimes, and Black people are also going to be the victims of those crimes. Where are the voices of those victims? So if Black Lives Matter, the organization, really cared about Black lives, why aren't they speaking for those people? Why aren't they looking out for those people? And then to link your wagon along with the Antifa, mostly white people, look like it's some kind of cosplay event. I'm sorry to throw that dig in there. It's uncalled for, it's childish. And they've elevated the game to a whole other level, and they will be dealt with when they meet with the military eventually. I mean, there's no way around it. There's not going to be a civil war, the way people think of civil war, where we're going to be going back and forth like this, okay? There'll be skirmishes in these areas where the shit's going on and people just can't live there any longer and take it anymore. They have to protect their families in an instance where people's homes are being burned, and they have a family in there to protect or whatever, or their businesses, and there's going to be problems there. You're going to have some fighting going on there. People are defending their lives and their liberty. But as far as what people think a civil war looks like, like 1863, that's not going to happen. Not going to happen, because eventually, sooner or later, and the more you ramp it up, the more likely it's going to be sooner, you're going to have to deal with the military. You're going to deal with the federal government and the military. And you know how quickly they'll run through you people. Yeah. And if he declares an insurrection or martial law, but you're not prepared for that. So how would you possibly spread all over the country and this really happen amongst citizens on a huge scale? It won't. Widespread, it won't. It won't, because that would be stamped out in 15 minutes when that's declared, and it will happen because it's on the table. By the same token, after all of this, I want to also say that in the situations that I mentioned, that I aforementioned, in which I would not hesitate to defend my life or liberty. Not hesitate. Shit that you ain't even seen on the news yet. Because you're messing with, basically, if you're living in a city, you may be conservative, but you're a little bit liberal anyway. These are people that care about people, or they wouldn't even be living around so many damn people. One, to expose their children to multiculturalism, right? You think these people are racists? They're living in cities. They're electing to live in cities. These people that are suffering from the devastation, right? No matter what color they are. But if I were to see any of these types of things that I said I would defend my life or liberty over, if I see any of these things being enacted on another individual, if I see, doesn't even matter, if I understand your lifestyle or any other thing, I recognize your right, and I recognize our connection, and I recognize our connections as human beings, beyond our connection as fellow, citizens of the United States. If I see a trans person being abused, being victimized, like which has happened by Antifa on video, if I saw that, I'm going to defend that person. I'm going to defend that person and help that person preserve their life and liberty. You better believe it. If I saw several people abusing and victimizing this person, I'm not going to stop and query people and say, whose side are you on and what's your political affiliation? No. I will defend that person being victimized so we can get the hell out of there. I will stand up for these people. That's what no bystander means. I believe in the preservation of life. I believe that life is precious. And I believe that even the biggest knucklehead out there, on some level, that's my brother, man. Don't have to agree. Don't have to understand. Situation's right. I'm going to step in and I'm going to defend you. I'm going to defend you. That's just a decent, human, civilized thing to do. So it's a big snowball, but when the government actually steps in, really does step in, and the military steps in, that shit will be squashed in no time flat. Like I said, the repercussions or the side effects are going to be felt everywhere here, right? Because as I explained in the other video, we're going to experience, maybe you may experience a loss of communicative ability. You may experience, if it were me, I would shut down your communicative abilities immediately, first thing I do. You may see no social media, you may see no internet, you may see no cell service. I think that would be a huge red flag that shit was really kicking off and getting serious. That's the first thing I would do if I were involved in some kind of a military action. Strategically, it's cut off your ability to communicate. We may see food shortages. We may see curtailed or limited travel. We may see basically somewhat of a lockdown, But like I said before, out here, rural America, or even remotely rural, almost, there's more rural than this, but I'm pretty rural. We're not going to be going like this. Anyway, that's what it is, man. And like I said, if I'm really missing something, you really truly feel I am, please don't lose your patience with me. Just explain it to me, man. Just explain it to me. I don't feel like I know everything. I know I don't know everything, for God's sake. I know less now than I knew 10 years ago. You know what I mean? Anyway, you guys take care. Have an awesome evening.